Today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating story from the ancient Pali scriptures. It's a tale about a king, a single gray hair, and a tradition that lasted for, believe it or not, thousands and thousands of years. It's a story that has a powerful lesson for us, and it all kicks off with a simple, mysterious smile.
So let's set the scene. The Buddha is with his closest disciple, Ananda, who notices something kind of unusual. The Buddha just smiles, for no apparent reason. Now, Ananda knows that a Buddha never smiles just for the heck of it. There's always a deep purpose behind it. So naturally, he has to ask, "Venerable Sir, what's the reason? Why the smile?"
And the Buddha's answer? Well, it wasn't a straight-up explanation. Instead, he starts to tell a story. He takes Ananda on a journey back in time, to the very same land where they were sitting, the ancient city of Mithila.
He starts talking about this king, Maghadeva, who was an incredibly just and righteous ruler. This wasn't just any king, you see. He was what they called a Dhammaraja, a king who ruled by virtue and the laws of the cosmos. Everybody loved and respected him.
Okay, so King Maghadeva ruled for a crazy long time. We are talking tens of thousands of years. And for his entire reign, he had one very specific instruction for his royal barber. You have to tell me the very moment a certain sign appears.
For ages and ages, nothing. The king just kept on ruling with wisdom. But then one day, after all those millennia, the barber finally saw it. The moment the king had been waiting for his entire life had finally arrived.
The barber comes to him and says, "The divine messengers have appeared. I see gray hairs on your head." Now, for most of us, a gray hair might send us into a little bit of a panic, right? But for King Maghadeva, this was the signal he had been waiting for.
So, what in the world is a divine messenger, or in Pali, a Devadutta? Well, in this context, it's not some angel coming down from the sky. It's a sign from reality itself, a sign of aging or sickness or death. For the king, this gray hair wasn't a bad thing at all. It was a sacred message that his time for worldly things was ending, and a completely different path was calling to him.
So the king doesn't get upset, not at all. Instead, he uses this moment to create something truly incredible, a tradition that he hoped would last forever and ever.
He established what the text called the Kalyanam Wattam, which means the noble custom. And the rule was simple, but wow, was it profound. As soon as the king sees his first gray hair, he has to hand the kingdom over to his eldest son, shave his head, put on the simple robes of an ascetic, and leave the palace behind to live a life totally dedicated to spiritual practice. And as he passed the throne to his heir, he gave him this incredibly serious charge. Continue this noble custom that I have established. Do not be the last man. And this idea, this fear of being the last man, becomes this huge central theme in the whole story, the heavy weight of continuing a worthy legacy.
And did they continue it? Oh, you better believe it. For an absolutely mind-boggling 84,000 generations, this chain of kings renouncing the throne remained unbroken. Father to son, king after king, they saw the gray hair and they walked the path. I mean, this tradition just flourished for an almost unimaginable amount of time. It starts with Maghadeva, it's carried on by thousands upon thousands, and it hits its absolute peak with a king named Nimi, a ruler so good that even the gods in the heavens heard about him and wanted to meet him. But every chain has a final link.
And that, of course, brings us to the tragic turning point of the story, the arrival of the last man.
The great King Nimi followed the custom, just like all of his ancestors. He saw his gray hair, he gave up his throne, and he passed that sacred duty to his son, whose name was Kalarajanoko.
But Kalarajanoko, yeah, he was different. When his time came, when he saw those divine messengers, he just ignored them. He clung to his power, to the pleasures of the palace, to the throne. He broke the chain. And with that one single act of attachment, this noble custom, which had been perfectly upheld for 84,000 generations, was just lost.
He became the very thing his great to the power of 84,000 grandfather had warned against, the anti-Mapariso, the last man, the one who let a beautiful, wholesome tradition just die out.
And after telling this whole epic story, the Buddha brings Ananda right back to the present moment. And this is it. This is where he finally reveals the real reason for that mysterious smile.
He looks at Ananda and drops this absolute bombshell. He says, "Ananda, I was that King Maghadeva. I was the one who established that noble custom.
A total plot twist. The Buddha himself in a past life started it all.
So this is why the Buddha was smiling. He wasn't just taking a trip down memory lane. He was making a much bigger point. His old tradition, the one he started as King Maghadeva, was good for sure. It led to a good but temporary heavenly rebirth. But the path he had now discovered as the Buddha was for something infinitely greater. It wasn't about getting a better rebirth. It was about ending rebirth altogether. It was about nibbana, total and complete liberation.
The Buddha then explained that he had now established a new noble custom, an upgrade, if you will. But this one wasn't just for a royal family who had to wait around for a gray hair. Nope, this new path was for everyone, at any stage of life, who was ready and willing to walk it.
And this new path is, of course, the Noble Eightfold Path. It's a complete, practical how-to guide. It's a step-by-step process for literally anyone to pull out the root cause of all suffering and achieve that ultimate goal of liberation. It's the final evolution of King Maghadeva's original, noble idea.
And he ends his story by echoing the same charge of his former self, King Maghadeva. But this time, he's not just speaking to his son. He's speaking to Ananda, to all of his disciples, and really, through them, to all of us. He says, "Continue this noble path that I have laid down. Do not be the last ones." And that kind of leaves us with the big question, doesn't it? Is this ancient path still being walked today, or are we in danger of becoming the last ones?